Hey guys, it's the Keto King here, and today we're doing a really important video. We're gonna do the top 5 reasons you're not losing weight on a keto diet. Now, I hate using the word keto diet because I advocate a keto lifestyle. It's gotta be a lifestyle change, otherwise it's not gonna be sustainable. Now, I primarily do low carb or keto recipes on this channel. Go ahead and browse through my channel if you haven't seen all of those. But let's get right into the top 5 reasons why you're not losing weight on a keto diet. First reason you're not losing weight is, and it may sound obvious, you're eating too many carbs. Now, I know what you're gonna say to me, no, I'm definitely sticking to my prescribed amount of carbohydrates. Well, let's take a step back before we get there. Firstly, how many carbs do you need to be eating in order to get into ketosis, in order to achieve a state of ketosis? Well, that's not a hard and fast number. There are certain numbers that are thrown around in the keto community. Some say below 50 grams of carbohydrates, others say below 25, some say below 20 grams of carbohydrates. Another item that complicates that figure is whether you're counting total carbohydrates or net carbohydrates. Now, if you haven't heard of a net carbohydrate, I'll put a link to a video explaining exactly what a net carb is and why we calculate net carbs up here right now. Take a look at that. I advocate counting net carbs, which in summary is total carbs minus fiber minus sugar alcohols. I advocate below 50 grams of net carbs or less a day should be able to get you into ketosis. Yes, you'll get into ketosis faster if you're eating 25 grams of net carbs or less in a day. But first and foremost, you need to be keeping those carbs under approximately 50 grams of net carbs a day. So my question to you is, are you tracking your carbohydrate intake? If their answer is no and you're not losing weight on the keto diet, I highly recommend you start tracking your macronutrients that you're eating. Now, the macronutrients, also known as macros, are the carbs, fats, and proteins that you're eating in your diet. Now, where we commonly find people eating too many carbohydrates is in one of two situations. One, you're just simply not aware of how many carbohydrates there are in various foods. Scenario 2 is what we call carb creep. That's where you're adding in certain items to your lifestyle, and those don't have a large amount of carbohydrates, maybe 2 or 3 grams here and there, but those amounts add up. And then slowly, when you were eating approximately 50 grams or less of net carbohydrates in a day, that amount just starts creeping, 55, 60, 65. And before you know it, you're eating far more carbohydrates than is needed to get into ketosis and, of course, to be optimal for weight loss for you. So again, in both of those scenarios, I highly recommend you track your macros. Now, a free, wonderful application that a lot of people use is MyFitnessPal. It's available as an app on your phone or online. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with them at all. It's just something that I use to track the foods. So definitely go check that out and make sure, guys, that your carbs are in check. That's one of the most important items we need to look at. And also, if you've been doing keto for a very long time and you're finding a bit of a plateau in your weight loss or a stall in your weight loss, then go ahead, track for a week, track for a couple weeks and see what happens, see what your macros are looking like. Things may have shifted in your diet, your macronutrients may be out of whack, and particularly your carbohydrates being too high. Now, the second reason you're not losing weight on your keto diet is eating too little fat. So this one is of course related to the first one because it deals with macronutrients, the carbs, fats, and protein you're eating. Obviously, a keto diet is high in fats. It is a high fat diet and a medium protein diet and obviously low carbohydrate. Eating too little fat isn't really in itself the problem. The problem comes from if you're not eating enough fat, meaning you're not getting enough calories from fat, you're obviously getting your calories from other macronutrients, which is either your carbohydrates or your protein. Now, if you're having too little fat and your carbohydrates are too high, of course that's not going to work for you. You're not going to be in ketosis or you're not going to be optimally burning fat. Or if you are keeping your carbohydrates in check, you're going to be making up those calories because of your lack of fat in your diet with protein. Now you say, Keto King, what's the problem with that? Well, generally I don't concern myself too much with the protein, although a keto diet is a medium protein diet. The reason why we don't advocate high protein is because of a process in our body called gluconeogenesis. That's, in a very simple nutshell, the process whereby your body converts protein into carbohydrates or into glucose for use in your body. Essentially, if you're eating too much protein in your diet, that can be converted into blood glucose, i.e. blood sugar, and essentially create the same effects, the insulin response in your body, that we're trying to avoid in this keto diet by keeping our carbohydrates down. Now, what are the optimal range of macros, you ask? Again, that's a question that's debated throughout the keto community. I'll put over here the generally accepted breakdown of keto macronutrients. Now, I don't want to get into an argument as to what is the correct percentage of fats versus carbs versus protein. I like to work it off. Get your carbs right first, either under 50 grams of net carbohydrates a day or under 25, as we've discussed already, and working across to your proteins and your fats, obviously making sure your protein is not too high and that your fats are high enough. That's how I do it. And of course, the way to sort this out is tracking your macros again. Now, I'm not a huge advocate on track your macros every single day of the week because I don't track my macros. I've been doing this for a long time that I don't need to. I have a fairly good grasp on foods, what their relevant macros are. But if you're not losing weight and this is why you're doing the keto lifestyle, or if you feel like this keto lifestyle isn't working for you and just not having the benefits that others are talking about, then definitely go and do some tracking of your macros. You'll be surprised what you find out. And the third possible reason why you're not losing weight on your keto diet is because you're using the wrong sweeteners. Now, this one's near and dear to my heart because I actually got duped with sweeteners back when I was starting keto. You obviously appreciate in a keto diet, we don't use sugar and we use sugar substitutes. Typically, we're using sugar alcohols here, which are acceptable in keto because they don't increase your blood sugar levels and obviously don't have the consequent insulinogenic effect in your body. Now, most of the sugar alcohols have either zero to little reaction in your body in terms of an insulin response, but there have been some questions over xylitol, which is one of the sugar alcohols that we use, and whether it actually does increase blood sugar levels. Now, because of that speculation, I'm not saying it does or it doesn't, I have moved away from using xylitol just out of an abundance of caution. I'm now using almost exclusively erythritol. This is this bad boy here. I got this off Amazon. I'll put a link to this product in the description box below if you want to pick some up. It's no more expensive than the other sugar alcohols. Now, erythritol is about 70% of the sweetness of sugar, so you can almost use it as a one-for-one substitute for sugar in most recipes. Next is stevia. Now, I'm a fan of stevia. I'm not particularly wild about that aftertaste you get in stevia, and that's my opinion. A lot of you guys love stevia and use it. There are products with stevia mixed with sugar alcohols, such as erythritol, which is a fantastic way to go for sweeteners. However, just be careful with stevia. Now, if you haven't watched my video on stevia in the raw, I'm going to put a link to the video in the top right-hand corner of my screen now. Please do watch that before you use stevia in the raw, or in fact before you use any stevia product. The bottom line is read the labels. If stevia is mixed with something that you're not familiar with, go do the research online, read up what it does, and specifically what effect it has on blood sugar levels or an insulinogenic response in your body. Now, that stevia in the raw is mixed with dextrose. Dextrose has a higher glycemic index than sugar. And of course, because stevia is incredibly sweet, the large majority of that stevia in the raw is going to be dextrose. So while you think you're being good and not having sugar, you're taking in a product which is having, in fact, a worse effect on your body in terms of blood sugar levels and insulin response. So check the sweeteners that you're using, making sure that they're pure stevia or stevia mixed with sugar alcohols, or that your sugar alcohols are also pure and they're not mixed with anything else. As far as artificial sweeteners go, I don't use them. I don't despise them. I don't judge people who use them because as far as the research goes, those artificial sweeteners don't have any effect on our blood sugar levels or our insulinogenic response from the body. So they are, from a purely keto standpoint, perfect to use in your keto lifestyle. But everyone's body reacts differently to different types of products. So again, if all of these other points you've gone through and said, yes, Keto King, I'm doing that right. I'm doing number 2, number 4, number 5 right. Check your sweeteners, or even just out of an abundance of caution, change your sweeteners. If you're using xylitol, maybe change to erythritol, or perhaps change from sugar alcohols to a stevia product. Something along those lines. Just try it and see what happens. Our bodies are all different. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for someone else. And of course, make sure you're not ingesting any horrible products like dextrose, which is defeating the whole purpose of the keto diet. And for me, for months when I started, I was using that stevia in the raw and really didn't see the beautiful benefits that do come from a keto lifestyle. And the fourth possible reason why you're not losing weight on a keto diet or a keto lifestyle is because you're eating too many calories. Now, if you saw my video responding to Jillian Michaels, who was saying that keto is bad and that we shouldn't believe the keto hype, Jillian Michaels says that in keto, we don't count calories. Now, that is true in some respect. The purpose of doing keto diet is that you get rid of those horrible cycles of blood sugar rising and blood sugar crashing and consequent feelings of hunger, feeling only satiated for just a short period of time and then feeling hungry again once your blood sugar level crashes. Once you are out of that horrible cycle, you are better able to determine when you truly are hungry, and as a result, this is sometimes less of a need to count calories. However, calories do count on a keto diet. If you're hitting 20 grams of net carbohydrates a day and your protein is medium, you've got your fats nice and high, but you're consuming 500 calories over your maintenance caloric intake, you're going to increase in weight. It's as simple as that. It still does come down to calories in versus calories out. As I said, keto makes it easier in that we don't necessarily have to track these macros, but if you're not losing weight, jump on MyFitnessPal or another tracking app, track your food and see what your calories are coming out to. Once you've done that, then you can also jump online, go and find out what your BMR is, your basic metabolic rate, how many calories you should be consuming for your body weight. So you obviously have to add in some statistics of yours to find out approximately how many calories you should be consuming. But also don't get fixed on that number because those calculations are not perfect. Everyone's body is different, as I've said before. So those are just going to be a general guideline, and you'll see a couple different methods to calculate how many calories you should be consuming. Also, that figure depends on how active you are, how many calories you're burning with exercise, how many calories you burn just generally in your day. Do you sit at a desk job all day? Or do you have a somewhat active job where you're burning calories throughout the day? So there's a bunch of factors that will play into that. That ballpark figure is handy for us to see if on some days perhaps we're skyrocketing our caloric intake, which is obviously not going to be great for weight loss if that's your goal. And the fifth possible reason why you're not losing weight on your keto diet or keto lifestyle is the Whoosh Effect. Now you say, Keto King, what the heck is the Whoosh Effect? In a very simplified version of it, your fat cells, once the fat is being depleted in those fat cells, those cells fill up with water, at least temporarily. So while you have been actually losing fat, those cells are filling up with water, so the weight is still there. You haven't actually lost any physical weight on the scale because those cells are filled with water now instead of fat. This is really just your body's way of trying to create a state of homeostasis. Your body obviously wants to stay in a certain state, in a constant state. It doesn't like great fluctuations, such as great fluctuations in weight or great increases in weight. It tries its best to stay in that state of homeostasis. So it holds on to these fat cells at their original size, which were big and filled with fat, and they hold on to their size by pumping water into those cells. As you continue on your keto diet, you're continually using that fat in the fat cells. Your body eventually gives up in a sense and says, okay, well, I'm not keeping the space in here for more fat to be stored in these fat cells by holding this water in here, because guess what? We're not going back to that fat. We're stopping that fat being stored in those fat cells, and the body says, all right, I'm done, and then it lets out all the water out of the fat cells. That's the Whoosh Effect. So oftentimes when you haven't lost weight, so if you're in a plateau in your weight loss, you suddenly get this whoosh effect when at one day you're at a regular weight and then the next day you've dropped a substantial amount of weight. Now if you chat around any keto forums, that's a very common effect to happen. It happens in the beginning of your keto journey and it can happen throughout. So if you are in a stall and you've been sitting on a weight for some time, perhaps patience might be the key for at least a portion of time. If you're solid and you're confident that you know your macros are in check, your carbohydrates are low enough, your protein is medium, your fats are high enough, you're not taking in the wrong sweeteners, you're not overshooting your calories too much, and you're still not losing weight, then just hang on, because it may be coming at some point in the future. I want to tack on a 5B point to this. One of the reasons you may not be losing weight is also linked to patience. Now, for those of you that don't know, as soon as you start a keto diet, so from going from eating high carbohydrates and sugar, as soon as you start reducing those carbohydrates, your body holds on to less water. So immediately you do see generally quite a big decrease in the scale. Now, while that's encouraging and it's good for people to continue on the keto journey, that's not true fat loss. You're not going to lose 3, 5, 7 pounds of fat in a week. Now, a lot of that would have been water weight. And then people get frustrated because they have these first couple weeks where their carb levels are dropping, their consequent water retention is dropping, and the scale's dropping. But then after those couple weeks, their weight just stays still. Or it stays still but only decreases by small amounts. That is fine. That's how it should go, because that's sustainable weight loss, where we're not having this drastic amount of weight lost per week, but a slow, constant amount lost. So again, just be patient. Don't weigh yourself too often, because things do fluctuate. Your scale may read higher one day, lower the next day. Don't get yourself in that pattern of weighing yourself every day. That's not healthy for you. You can do it perhaps weekly or every couple weeks or even every month, and then weigh yourself for a few days in a row just to get an average of how that's gone. And then stop again. Weigh yourself in a month. Weigh yourself in 2 months' time. That scale shouldn't be your best friend. Well, thanks guys for watching. I hope these 5 tips helped you. And if they didn't, I hope they just gave you some ammo to help someone else who's living a keto lifestyle and is struggling to lose weight or has hit a plateau. Obviously, these are just 5 of the reasons why you're possibly not losing weight on a keto diet. Let me know in the comment section what other reasons you feel like are top contributors to not losing weight on a keto diet. I'd honestly love to hear from you. Let's get some good dialogue, some good discussions down in the comment section below. Now, I can't get to everyone's comments and answer every single person. I definitely do my best, particularly in the week or so after I've uploaded a video. But thereafter, if you really have some burning questions or want to discuss things further with me, check me out on Patreon. That's where you can be guaranteed some answers and get into some in-depth conversations with me. Got some awesome new keto recipes coming out soon, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those new recipes. And of course, keep it keto.